becoming an expert in your local planning and zoning code is where the money is made, and nobody does the work. I'm the only person that I've ever seen post a video about reading planning and zoning code ever, because nobody talks about it. It's not sexy. It's not fun. If I were to flip my computer around and show you my desk, it's literally just covered right now with files, with plans, like all these different hoops we have to jump through. All the boring administrative work that no real estate investors talk about is where we make money. It's the rule book to how we make money in real estate, and nobody talks about it.
Welcome to The Breakthrough with Stephen Husted, the show that takes you behind the scenes with successful entrepreneurs, real estate investors, and other movers and shakers in the business world. In each episode, we'll sit down with our guests to explore their personal and professional journeys, including the challenges they faced, the breakthrough moments that propelled them to success, and the strategies and the tactics they used to get there. Get inspired by new ideas and strategies and get to know our guests on a deeper level. Join us for candid conversations, powerful insights, and plenty of breakthrough moments. Please help us grow by subscribing and sharing the podcast, and welcome to the show. All right, listeners, buckle up for another incredible episode of The Breakthrough with Stephen Husted. Today, we've got Derek Sherrell, also known as That ADU Guy, who's here to share his amazing journey from starting in construction at just 14 to becoming a master of infill housing and ADU development. Derek's got some fascinating stories, like how he started by building an ADU without permits in high school and eventually transitioned from being a firefighter to a full-time real estate expert. In this episode, we dive deep into the realities of the market, the importance of pivoting your strategy, and how to avoid common pitfalls in real estate. Derek also opens up about the biggest challenges he faces, like dealing with neighborhood pushback when developing a new housing. Plus, he'll give you the lowdown of how to identify the best properties for ADU development and the critical role of understanding local zoning laws. This isn't just for the seasoned investors. If you're new to real estate or just curious about the magic behind ADUs, Derek's insights are gold. His journey is a testament to resilience, adaptability, and the power of staying true to your values while navigating the ever-changing real estate landscape. So if you want to learn how to transform a simple property into a gold mine, or just need some real talk on how to build a sustainable real estate portfolio, this episode is for you. Stay tuned and get ready to be inspired by Derek Sherrell, That ADU Guy, right here on The Breakthrough. We got past the technical difficulties.
Yeah, if this was easy, anybody would do it, right?
Yeah, I was shooting, like, once we jumped off and I just gave you some time to see what was going on. I got on and shot a video and saying, yeah, I remember in the very beginning when I would start my podcast and there'd be one issue and I would freak out. It would be oh my God. And now it's like, yeah, whatever. He'll come back on. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
no
for
biggie.
sure. Yeah, quick reboot, where it's like flashbacks to the early days of Zoom when everybody would jump on their, first couple meetings and be talking for a minute before they realized they were on mute.
Oh, yeah.
Flashbacks of like early pandemic video conferencing, huh? Oh, yeah. Goodness.
That Zoom's done. I don't know. Recently, I try to use Riverside for all my meetings and podcasts, but I've been on a couple of Zoom meetings recently, and I'm like, wow, their technology is getting better. Like the clarity is way more improved than it used to be. So
yeah, I've noticed that too. Yeah, they've got to up their game.
Did you really?
Yeah. They were losing market share, so they had to reboot, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's funny that you thought it too. I just kept looking at the screen like, it's really nice now. So that's good. Good for them. So
it's just a good reminder. Just a good reminder to our entrepreneur friends out there that if you don't pivot and you don't adjust, like, you're going to get mowed over. I mean, 100 years ago, everybody bought their stuff from Sears. Now Sears, is maybe a thing of the past. So just a good reminder there, huh?
Yeah. When you think about that, what comes to mind right now
Um,
for you in pivoting?
just for me personally, I'm just changing how I'm structuring my deals with the cost of money. That's
Mm-hmm.
what's uh, coming to mind for me. It's just changing a strategy that I've always had that's always worked that doesn't work as well anymore. So being able to change with the times, really, whatever that pivot means in your business. For us as build to rent, as a build to rent business, we're looking at potentially for the first time ever selling some of our new builds to keep funding the machine. So that's personally what the pivot is looking like for us in our business right now.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you don't look at the big picture, you kind of start going down fast in a lot of ways because what you were doing before is just not working. It's almost the same thing as we were buying single family homes out in Kansas City, during like 2019 to during COVID, and you could do no wrong. Interest rates were super low. You find a property, you rehab it. You could even have to fire two contractors and still go, and you would have appreciation. You would still burr out of it, and everything was fine. It's like, no, now
Yeah.
you have to readjust your expectations and your strategy of what you're trying to do. And that's a big part of investing. And I think that's something that you learn, I think, over time. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You have to learn that. You have to be able to roll with the punches. It's common sense. Like if what you're doing isn't working anymore, don't hold on to the comfortable thing that you've always done. You're going to have to change and adapt with the
Yeah.
market, with the times, with the technology. I mean, nobody likes change unless it's our own idea, but it's just a part of the business that we have to be open to.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of get the audience up to speed in what you really do. I know where I found you was on Instagram, and you were building ADUs and giving out a ton of information there, and just really informative. When did you first start building? Because I know you got a pretty cool story. Used to be a school teacher and worked in like, were you a school teacher in woodshop?
No, but that's part of my story. So I
Oh,
started in
cool.
construction, I would say semi professionally when I was 14. I had a
Wow.
woodshop teacher in high school who handpicked a bunch of kids. We thought we were special, but really we were just like a bunch of delinquents that he knew probably weren't going to go to college and he wanted to teach a skill. So he created this construction technology class and we built an illegal ADU for another one of our teachers in 1995. And I was always good with my hands. I really loved being on the job site and having that creative, like artist spirit was really coming out of me. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I started an apprenticeship. I worked for a master carpenter starting at 15 years old and ended up having my contractor's license at 19 and went right into the building industry as the muscle and the hammer for the investor and was building a lot of property and equity for other people. I mean, it never even crossed my mind for the first few years as a professional in the industry that I could actually own property and do that too. So that's kind of my story. I got started in construction. I've never looked back. I mean, I've going on my 30th year in some form of building. I sidetracked in 06, 07. The wheels started to fall off the industry here. I went back to school, became a full-time professional fireman. And I did those simultaneously for about 15 years until I retired from my real job a few years ago. And now we just do real estate, new build to hold rental real estate full time. And then I teach other people how to do the same thing. And I try to give away everything we do. There's no email list here. There's no course here. I don't have a mastermind. Not that there's anything wrong with that stuff, but we try to open source everything we're doing so we can reach more people.
Yeah, it's really cool. And your content's just insanely good. I mean, I think we live in a day and age that if you really want to get into learn how to build an ADU and you can gravitate to the right people, you're gonna have a leg up. Like you're gonna be 80% there, and then you got to put in that effort and build that team. How much are you shooting as far as like content on your properties and what you're doing? Are you shooting weekly or how does that look? And how many projects do you have going at a time?
Those are all great questions, man. I don't want to talk too much. I want to, be as helpful as I can and get through as much information. But starting right now, I usually do 3 projects at a time. We have one that we're building, usually 2 or 3 units at a time. We have one in planning, so we're waiting for plan review or lot division, stuff like that. And then we have a project or 2 in the pipeline that we've been marketing to people that we know or going direct to seller. Right now, we have a little bit more. We have 3 projects really on the table, but each of them are anywhere from 2 to 4 units. So, I mean, it would sound better if I said I had 12 projects going right now, but really we try to break it down into 1 active, 1 on deck, and then kind of 1 in the hole. And that's where we're comfortable. We've scaled up right now. I mean, these 10 or 12 units that we have to build this year is a lot, and there's a diminishing return when we start to scale up. And everybody talks about going to the moon and getting a Lambo, and I want 1,000 units, and how do we scale? And that's not reality, guys. There's very, very select few people that can pull that off. But the more people you bring into the fold, the more problems you're going to have. So I just encourage all of our listeners out here, if you can just do, I mean, for 15 years, I did 1 at a time. I paid cash for them slowly but surely. And we did really, really well with that strategy. So you don't have to go to the moon. You can go slow and steady with, high LT or low LTV and high equity in your properties, and you get good cash flow, and you have all these little piggy banks everywhere. So that's kind of how many projects we do at once. And now for content, honestly, I'm shooting something every day. And I want to preface this, what I'm about to say, with I have no production experience. I have no camera experience. I don't really like the way I look on camera. I don't like the way I sound. I saw a piece of content you made a couple weeks ago, and you were talking about how on some angles of how you're holding your phone, it shows that your bottom teeth are crooked. I've got crooked teeth. I've got wrinkles on my face. I think I sound like a goofball. And you know what? Why I'm successful on content is because I don't give a shit. It's not about me. It's not about me. As soon as people out there can understand that it's just about adding value to others, and it doesn't matter. Nobody cares how you look and sound. They want you to solve their problem in 1 minute. And so with all that being said, I just started doing content December 19th, 2.5 years ago. I woke up on my birthday at 4 a.m. and decided I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my best foot forward. I took the Gary V approach, where the first 400 videos don't matter. I'm just going to do it. If you're afraid to do it, do it. If you don't think you should post. And I started doing that. And what I found out is it took a lot of reps to get better at it. Yeah. And I look at some of my earlier stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even watch it. Yeah. But the point is, I took action, and anybody else can. No experience. I definitely don't have a face for TV. I'm not good with sound or video. All of my content is shot with just a phone, and same with mine. It still helps people. So the point I'm trying to make here, folks, is take action, add value to others, and help people, and it will change your life. I mean, the fact that I put out some content now, and the opportunities I get, and the rooms I get to go into, and the people that call me, example perfect right here. You saw me on Instagram. Now we're going to be friends. We're helping each other out. It's so powerful. And I spent, I was 15 years late to this party. I spent the first 15 years thinking nobody cares. Why would I ever make a video? That's stupid. And it was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my career, was getting on social media late.
That was a good one. I really appreciate you brought up all of that. And it's because I think that sometimes people follow and they see you doing something they really want to do, and they start to pick themselves apart in so many different avenues. I can't build an ADU. I'm not a contractor. I don't shoot content. All these, there's all these steps and things that you got to do. And at the end of the day, what you just said is very similar to me. When I first started shooting content, I sat in front of the camera during COVID, and I was like, what the hell am I going to say? I just didn't know. I kept trying, and I kept screwing up and didn't know what to do. And until I figured out, what I did know is all I wanted to do is create value, talk about my experiences in real estate, what I'm working on, and just put it out there, and once I kind of got my head around a few videos of just bringing value, and I got a couple responses, it kind of got me to lean in more. But my voice, didn't like my voice. I was like, holy shit, I'm I'm 50. I'm not 30 anymore. And the weird thing is when you start to do it later and you've been pretty, for me, antisocial for a long period of time, and all of a sudden I just jump out and start making content, put it on Instagram and Facebook. All these people are like, wait, what's going on? And it's kind of a weird, a weird dynamic. However, when I was getting messages of, thank you, helped me out, and it was sometimes not have nothing to do with real estate. It could be anything. Like they would catch on to something else, and that's when I knew I'm like, this really not about me. I know this now. It's just providing value. Try and be myself. Just be myself on here. And I'm not going to be the best expert or the best on camera. It's just not going to happen. I'm just being me, and this is where it's at. So I really appreciate you bringing that up right now. Because when I started following you, I couldn't think of anything. I'll just know is that you provide a ton of value. I picked up on one thing recently, and one of the reasons why I reached out to you is, I'm an investor here in California, but we invest out in the Midwest. But we are starting to go into building ADUs, but we never were able to sell them here in California. Now that changed. I'm moving into the Seattle and surrounding areas market to build DADUs. And so somehow I found you that way, tied to all the people that kind of follow you. And there, within 4 videos, you taught me so much. It's incredible what you can get out of a 1-minute video from somebody, and it's just been barely powerful. So I like to know, like, how do you plan out when you're doing your builds? Are you trying to get everybody I noticed that you do it from the very beginning. You're bringing them through the journey of start to finish for the most part, correct?
Yeah. What we do, the point is here as to teach people how to understand finance and get lendable and control their DTI so they can actually get on the property ladder. And then after that, it would be, how do we identify properties? Because ADU play does not work everywhere, not even on the same street. There's a lot of things that are very, very important when it comes to driving high yields with this product. And so we teach people how to identify those properties. And that's, I'll give you my top 3 right now. Like, we want a flat lot, we want good access, and we want newer infrastructure. So if I buy one house that's on a flat lot with good access and the sewer line has already been replaced because it's a 1940s house, and there's a transformer right in the front yard, and there's a storm drain right on the curb, that's going to be, that could save us $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 compared to the house next door that has a little bit of grade, that doesn't have good access or good parking, that needs a new sewer line and needs a panel upgrade. So I teach people how to identify properties where this is going to be way more affordable. And then we give away our simple design. We build a couple of the same units over and over. We just change the colors, and we built we built a YouTube channel where we can share that. So we have a playlist at That ADU Guy on YouTube that says how to build an ADU with cost breakdown. And there's 17 videos of exactly what we do, from how we pull permits at the city with the planning and zoning department, to how we cut the excavation pad, to how I put in the sewer line, the water line, to how we build it. We raise the walls. All the way down to like how we put in the tile, how I install the toilet. I give you all 200 steps of our build. And then we also give away those plans. So you can go to the website and download the plans for free. You might need to touch them up. If you're in California in a seismic area, you might need to get them engineered on the footings or whatnot and put in some hold downs. But the bulk of it is there for free. So the goal is to teach people how to become eligible to buy a house, to teach them how to find properties to build ADUs, and then how to build an ADU from the ground up. And oh, by the way, here's the plans for free. And we just share that openly, as opposed to how do we get to 1,000 units? My goal and my values have always been like, how do we get 1,000 people to 1 unit? And that's kind of the process of what we're doing. And that's in long form video. And then every day on the job site, I just pull out my camera and I take some goofy video of something that I think took me a long time to learn, or I did it wrong for 15 years. And now we know, like, the best trim package to put in a house is, pre-prime pine. Don't use MDF, because over time people mop the floor and it swells up. So all these little things that took us a long time to learn. Like, I'm not an expert. I'm just really good at failing, and I haven't given up. So those are that's kind of what we're trying to teach people.
Yeah, I think there was one video you did, and you were showing that you have where you spray paint the markings and you cover up like where your sewer line's going to go, and just little things like that. I was like, okay, this is clever. Like, I'm catching on to this. But you bring up a good point. I've mentored a few people last year, but I have a lady now that I'm mentoring, and I was taking her through some steps. She bought 2 properties out in St. Louis. And it dawned on me as she was buying these properties off market through a wholesaler, I was taking her through these steps, and a lot of these steps were steps that I made mistakes on. And now she's getting my, refined version of like, hey, I'm getting you away from the mistakes I had, and a lot of different ways. And I think that's the part that's really cool, because you're kind of springboarding them a little bit more further. They can do their learning process and the issues they make, and they can pass it forward too, hopefully.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, let's learn from each other's mistakes and get better. And it's really a team sport. Something I want to mention is our business is very unique, where we give away our trade secrets. You could never like stroll into Amazon and be like, hey, show me how to write code, or go to Apple and be like, help me design some cool new electronic. Like, you would be arrested. And in our business, we really want to see other people win. And I've just never been around an industry where people are more willing to help one another, whether that's paid or free. Most people want to give away their information. Even people that I know and that I follow, that I'm friends with, that have big followings and have big coursework and big high dollar masterminds, you pay to get into those rooms, and they're just saying a longer version of what they share for free every day online anyways. Like, when people are really good and powerful at something, like, they want to share it. You may have to pay for the relationship with them, but the information they're giving away. So you started the show talking about how much good information is out there. Like, there's amazing content. Just be very picky of who you follow. Don't judge your insides based on other people's outsides. And everybody has a different style. Some people like shiny houses and Lamborghinis. Like, follow people like that if that's in line with your goals. But just don't compare your insides to other people's outsides, and be careful who you follow, because there's a lot of people out there that are trying to sell you a get rich quick plan, and that's not how real estate works. It's a get rich slow play, and it's hard, and it's grinding, and it will kick you in the shins every day. But if you don't give up and you don't die, I promise you will be successful. I promise. I don't know anybody that hasn't given up that hasn't won. I see a lot of people give up too soon because they're not getting rich, and those are the people that fail. So if you can have a long-term set of goggles and not give up and die, you'll do good.
Well, also too, there's a lot of comparison going on where people are in their journey on social media. You're like, wait a minute, you're following this person. I know you think they have it figured out, but they've been in real estate 20 years. If you were in some markets and you're investing for the last 20 years, you've done really well. The market appreciation, you name it. So, and then you come in as somebody who's new, you really don't know where to start, and you see them, you just kind of elevate towards that. You got to take steps, and it takes a long time. But the get rich slow in real estate, do you know Ann Curry?
Yeah.
Yeah, she says that a lot too, and it's so true. This is a long play, and you got to be in it for the right reasons too. I don't know well, let's back this up. Building for you, what is it besides helping people? What is that satisfaction you get out of it? Is it from the finding the land and building and just the whole build out part of it? What gets you really excited throughout the whole process of all these different scenarios?
I'm a deal junkie. I just really am. I love this. I'm a builder. I'm an artist. But the deep down superpower I think I have is, and I share this openly, folks, is I grew up poor. We lived in apartments. The kind of housing insecurity that we know as today was something that I experienced, and I can make a difference. And when I say I can make a difference, it's not like we're just going to buy old houses and make them nicer and gentrify the neighborhood. There's nothing wrong with that either, but we're actually wanting to create new, more affordable housing units by building new. And so my deep rooted fuel is I care about tenants because I was a tenant. I'm a developer that comes into the space with the mindset and the eyes and the heart of a tenant. So by building more needed infill housing and giving our tenants more choices and better units and giving them real hardwood floors and granite countertops and stainless steel appliances and yards and letting them have a dog. And yes, you can put holes in the wall and hang your pictures like that. We want you to have a home here that you're going to stay in forever. That's really my driver is let's create more housing and put downward pressure on rents so more people can have an affordable, nice place to live. And as long as my mind is there, like I can work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a grind. But that's kind of my power. And that's what keeps me going. And then I see the deals and I love analyzing deals. I love building. I like solving complex problems of how do we get water and sewer and power to this build site across this road or canal or whatever it is. It's kind of that creative artist in me.
The creative part is big. What did you do growing up creatively?
I've been a builder since like I can remember taking my first steps. I mean, honestly, I would ride around town with no shirt on my BMX bike. Like this is the 80s, guys.
Yes.
And, we were building forts. Like I was always building some kind of fort. And the reason I'm drawn to these accessory dwelling units, I think, and I put lofts in all of my units with ladders up to the loft space.
Cool.
You slide out, pull down ladders, which we teach people how to build as well for free. I could never afford to like build a tree house. It was always just like scrap together what you could to build a fort in the blackberries. And so now I have all these loft designs that we do. And I think it's because I'm still just building forts. I mean, in my mind, what wealth and joy is to me is like riding around town with no shirt on, building forts. And like, that's still to this day, like that's my happy place. I try to run, when the sun's out, I run 10 to 12 miles every day. And hopefully I don't have my shirt on and I'm just running by my forts or running between building forts. It's still that spot in my heart where I'm happiest.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's the greatest story. I love that. You kind of tapped into my childhood too, because, yes, I was a teenager in the 80s. It was all about heavy metal and BMXing and, freedom, forts, just being alone with friends in places. And all you had to do is get home, by dark. Those lights go on that street. You just got to be home by then. But there was a lot of freedom back then in those days. And it's funny. A lot of those habits and traits that I learned as a kid, they kind of continued through to now, like it's kind of funny. You brought up, are you a trail runner or do you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I'm an ultra runner. That's kind of like one of my passions still.
So I been racing mountain bikes since 2014 and big endurance races, like Leadville and Cape Epic and things like that, stage racing. But end of last year, I really wanted to get, do an exercise that I could just go out my front door, go 20, 30 minutes, not have to like get my kid on and go on a, hour, 2 hour ride. And I started taking it. I got onto running and man, I wish I would have started running earlier. It is like completely changed my life.
Yeah. Running is an amazing, amazing thing to do. And I like it because it's free. It's easy. Like you said, you can just step out your front door and do it. Pretty low barrier of entry if you have, the body that allows it. Some people, can't, but yeah.
True. Well, and I've seen a lot of people, get into running that are, kind of bigger and heavier and they all of a sudden transform, you never know. Where do you live exactly?
I live in Ashland, Oregon. I'm in Southern Oregon, Ashland Talent. I live in Talent right now. But yeah, we're just a few miles from Ashland. That's a little more recognizable. Right on the California-Oregon border on I-5.
Okay, cool. So you got all kinds of trails.
Oh yeah, we have an amazing watershed here. We can run 5,000 feet from town to the top of the mountain and back. So we have
great.
Amazing mountain biking. I mean, if you ever come up to Southern Oregon, we'll get you a place to stay and we'll go ride bikes or something.
Yeah, do you ride mountain bikes too?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah,
Sweet.
I'm not like an endurance racer, but I can hold my own.
Yeah, definitely. If you got the trail running behind you, you got the cardio there for sure. So, what is the difference when people reach out to you and want to get coached? You do coaching, correct?
Yeah, kind of. I have a consultation business where I work with people by the hour directly one on one.
Okay.
But most of those folks, when they reach out to me initially, I say, hey, go watch this playlist or go watch this on the YouTube channel. Don't pay me unless you absolutely need one on one time with me. Go do all this stuff first. And if you still need direct one on one time with me, then you can book a call. So I do consultations, but that's not like my favorite thing to do. It's a high price and it's still trading time for money. So if I can help people for free, I always advise that first. And some people just want to pay for the relationship, and I have folks that I do consultation with, but most people hire me for no more than an hour, and we have a great game plan for them.
And when they reach out to you, are you first trying to find out what their pain points are at the moment, or are you guys just free flowing it for an hour? Like, where are they coming and what are they have pretty broad questions, or are they all pretty certain? Like, are they same thing over and over that you're hearing? Just they need to get some good advice on how to start, or what are they saying?
No, most of it is more technical. So people
Okay.
call me and book time with me when they have an idea of where they want to deploy the strategy, or they already have a property and they already have conceptual drawings and they want me to look at them to make their plan more effective and more efficient and how to save money. So here's a good example. I get somebody that books an hour with me and they say, hey, I just spent $10,000 for these plans and I want you to review my plans and see if we're doing anything wrong. And I'll look through a plan set and say they have an ADU that's 600 square feet, one bedroom, one bath, and little things like the mini split may be on the wrong wall. Or one I see often is somebody will put a stove on an interior wall, and they can easily put that stove on an exterior wall, and that would save them the chase work and the duct work to go up, over, and out when they can just go straight out with their hood. So something like that might save them a couple $1,000s, and they just don't know because they've never had to pay the mechanical bill to run a free floating hood over two walls as opposed to just going straight out. So little things like that. People call me with technical questions most of the time. The people that get down in the bottom of my funnel, if you will, they're already pretty well versed. Maybe they've
Okay.
built a few ADUs and they're just like, hey, how do I identify a property where I don't have to spend so much money on site work? And we go into those details.
And are they all over the United States?
Yep. Right now, the hot spots are California, Oregon, Washington, Montana just passed amazing statewide code. So the four states with overarching statewide code are California, Oregon, Washington, and Montana. And then there's I get a lot of calls from Florida and Austin, Texas as well. But California is probably the hotbed right now. We do a lot of work in California. And then, I have people in my local market that see what I do and want to do the same thing. So I do some work here, but I'd say 75% is in California.
Okay. Yeah. It's going to be really big now coming up. Like it's,
Yeah.
with the AB 1033 passing.
Yeah, there's some pros and cons to condoization of ADUs. I still like SB 9. If I'm in California, I'm looking to split lots into legal lots of record. We have
Yeah.
a very similar law here with middle housing land division rules, but that's a whole different class. But I'll tell you this right now, folks, is it's not just about how do I build an ADU. It's do not buy property that doesn't have room to infill. What we're doing is infill housing. We're buying places that have room to add more units, whether we're going to keep them on the same tax lot, whether we're going to condo them, whether we're going to chop them up and sell them as tenants in common, whether we're going to do fee simple lot partitions. That's where the money is made in real estate. I didn't get to talk about this yet, but
Let's go for this.
becoming an expert in your local planning and zoning code is where the money is made, and nobody does the work. I'm the only person that I've ever seen post a video about reading planning and zoning code ever, because nobody talks about it. It's not sexy. It's not fun. If I were to flip my computer around and show you my desk, it's literally just covered right now with files, with plans, like all these different hoops we have to jump through. All the boring administrative work that no real estate investors talk about is where we make money. It's the rule book to how we make money in real estate, and nobody talks about it. So planning and zoning is super big. If you're not into planning and zoning and reading codes, just hire somebody on your team that is. Just hire a professional land use planner, or sometimes you can hire an architect to do a lot of that work. But if you hire a land use planner for hundreds of dollars an hour, and you hire an architect for hundreds of dollars an hour, and then you have this extravagant design, you're going to call me. And I got this call this morning from somebody that says, hey, the house is $800,000 in Southern California. The ADU is going to cost me $400,000. It doesn't pencil. Well, it's because you paid a premium every step along the way. If you learn how to identify the house yourself, you learn how to do your own zoning, you get a copy and paste set of plans, maybe from your city, and you don't over design and you don't overbuild, you can do that same play for half the price, which is going to drive your yield. So planning and zoning is huge.
So how much work have you done? So you're in Oregon, but you're pretty in depth with what's going on in California. So you've researched on that as well. Are you doing projects out here too, or are you just consulting?
Nope. No, everything that I build and hold is within minus one place that house I have up in the mountains is within 5 miles. So everything I'm doing is here. But yes, I stay abreast with local rules. I read a lot of legislation, and I've been involved in policy making as a planning commissioner. I try to stay abreast of all the current state laws. And California is such a big market. I'm well versed down there. I teach for the ADU Academy. We just did a academy in Los Angeles a few weeks ago. So traveling around and teaching, I have to, I can't say I'm an expert in every state or every city because there's some slight variations. But understanding the overarching state law is key to kind of my business and helping people. And it changes all the time. Just because you're an expert last year doesn't mean you're up to
You're an expert
today.
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. That goes right in line with the pivot part. The minute you think you have it figured out, you don't.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We always are learning. I go to a lot of conferences. Some of them I get to speak at. People think I go just to speak, and I don't. I happen to talk about something, but I go to learn. Every once a quarter or twice a quarter, I'll go somewhere, and I'm going to learn. I mean, we have to always be learning. School is never out for a pro. We always have to be evolving and learning. And there's no finish line here, folks. We have to just keep improving.
You were just at a conference, weren't you? Was it? I think because I saw a video with a buddy that I know out in Seattle, Justin.
Yeah,
Justin?
Justin from Amazon. Yeah, Justin's a buddy of mine. He's a great guy. He's doing detached ADUs in Seattle right now. I was at an event in Las Vegas, Nevada, a couple weeks ago for Michael Zuber. He's a great resource. Got an awesome YouTube channel. One rental at a time is his channel, and he's a good dude. He's a friend of mine, and he's a solid guy, heart of gold. You can trust him. He did an event, and I went out for that and gave kind of one of my ADU slide decks for the folks there. That event was based on helping W-2 workers get closer to financial freedom. So speaking to a room of a couple hundred young investors, early investors that still have a real job, they're trying to slowly but surely, add a rental to their portfolio. So it was right down my alley.
Yeah, that's really cool. What would you give an aspiring new investor? Where would you give them their starting point? If it was you, if you're starting over from scratch right now and you wanted to get into building ADU, what would you do? What would you tell somebody to kind of?
A few things. That's a great question, by the way. Thank you. A few things. I would say hone your skills. You need to have skills. You need to be really good at something and be able to generate income. Everybody talks about low and no money down. You need some money or some skill to get into this game. You can't just show up with other people's money and other people's time and get rich. Not going to happen. So work on your skills. You need to find a mentor. I would highly suggest you find a mentor. Find somebody in your market, not somebody with a Lambo across the country that's going to charge you $10K. Find somebody in your market that you respect, their character, they have integrity, and ask them if they would mentor you in exchange for some massive value you're going to add. So if you have a skill, maybe you're good at social media and there's a local investor that's building apartments in your area and you want to learn how to build multifamily, I would go to that person as a content creator and say, hey, listen, can I follow you around and I'm going to make reels for you? We're going to grow your social media following. And in turn, can I just ride around with you for every Monday? Something like that. So develop skills where you can offer value to other people. Find a mentor in your market and then add massive value to them and then try to work for them. so you can be getting paid to learn the strategy that interests you in your market. Like that's what I would do, period.
Right. Because you get going right away instead of, I don't know for you, but for me, when I got into investing out of state, I didn't have a mentor. It was just me. I was just learning the hard way. I mean, I was connected with people through, social media, but I didn't have a mentor. I just thought because I'm an agent out here in California that I could go figure it out and how to invest out of state because I'm an agent, and I was brutally wrong on a lot of avenues. I learned, I was able to do things and I had a kind of an understanding, but I made a lot of mistakes, and I think that mentor can help, it's a voice of reason, insights, talking points.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like there's so many amazing, simple strategies out there that somebody's already done. And you can, there's two ways to get a skill. I mean, you can put in the time to learn it or you can purchase it. I'm not against like people paying for mentorship, but there's a lot of amazing free mentors out there. And they don't have to be in your backyard specializing in your strategy. Like that's what I recommend. But I have some mentors that don't even know they're my mentors. Like there's, there's people like Thatch up in Seattle. He's a great guy. He does amazing content. Yeah. I know him personally and I respect him. He's somebody that I send people to when they say, hey, can you, do you have a course? And I say, no, go check out his though. But his interview style of how he interviews people and talks about his properties, that's how I started doing my content. There's people that I see how they treat people on their team. And I'm like, that's a mentor of mine that teaches me how to build a team. And they don't even know it. These are just people that I follow online.
Yeah.
So the mentorship isn't like you have to, go to a meetup and like go timidly talk to the, biggest investor woman in the room and ask her if you can follow her around. You just have to pay attention, folks. Pay attention. Like if you just pick a strategy and you get really good at it, like you're going to win. My strategy happens to be infill housing with ADUs. If you want to be a wholesaler, go find a wholesaler in your market or in St. Louis. You don't have to be next door, but you need to find somebody that's already doing what you want to do and they're successful at it, and then add value to them either with your time or your skills or your money so they can teach you and get you up to speed way quicker than trying to reinvent the wheel yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And stay focused on one strategy in the beginning. I've had so many people reach out to me, and the lady that I'm mentoring right now, she's like, yeah, I want to look into multi-units. I want to, do that. And yes, I know we're in the middle of this flip and I got these 2 buy and holds. I'm like, hyper focused on one right now. Like, I know it all sounds good. Next week you could, want to be doing storage units, it's like you gotta are doing Airbnbs. You really gotta, stay focused on something for a good period of time. And if you want to pivot down the road, so be it. You can. If you want to change the strategy, go ahead. Do you do anything besides building? Like, do you do any other real estate strategies, or are you kind of in your pocket and that's just the zone you like to be in?
Yeah. No, I don't. This was boring 20 years ago and I knew I was nailing it and I just kept doing it. So slow and steady, rinse and repeat. So we do these, people know me as a house hacker, but really we land hack. So we buy these houses with big lots that we can split into multiple lots. And then we just build more houses and more ADUs on these big lots after we split them up. So it's the same thing over and over and over. Build to rent, build and hold. I've never sold a single house. And
cool.
We just want to just keep getting better and better at what we do. And that's how we get efficiencies is like, we've been this unit that we build now that we just changed the color of our kind of our flagship unit. We just try to build it over and over and get better at it. Slow and steady, doing the same thing. I've never went and looked at a mobile home park. I'm not buying commercial. I have no intentions of like building a strip mall. I stay in my lane where I'm comfortable and where I'm successful. And we just double down on that.
Well, it's good too, because to your point, you're also bringing all this value to other people that are in your audience, and you're just staying in that pocket, which is just, instead of always trying to pivot to different things, you're like, look, this is where you can come to me for. You can get all the information, go out there, do it yourself, because this is what I'm doing, and I'm taking you on the journey in real time.
Yeah. And one thing I'd say too is that so many people are teaching, and not that they don't have the whiskers to be teaching, but why I've had like a tiny bit of fellowship and like a tiny bit of trust from people that watch what I'm doing is because I mean, I spent 28 years doing it before I even shared one thing, or
Right.
27 years doing it before I shared one thing. So when people saw what I was doing and they did a tiny bit of research on me, they're like, oh, okay, well, this guy's been doing the same thing for decades. Like, he probably knows what he's talking about. And not that we can't have these 20-year-old hotshots, because there are some of them out there. I mean, I know some of these folks personally, and I'm like, damn, like, you are special. You're cut from a different cloth. I wish I had half the ambition you have. But most of the time, people that are teaching or selling courses, they just don't have the experience to back it up. You cannot get 20 years of experience in multiple market cycles in real estate unless you've been in the game for 20 years. Like, tough shit. Like, there's no other way to get it. So that's before I started making content. Like, not that I was perfect at what I was doing, but I had the experience to share. And if you're new to content and you're new to real estate, I'm not saying don't post everything, but just post that you're new and you're learning and you don't know shit, because so many people are trying to sell, a book of goods that they don't have. And you want to make sure that you're adding value to people.
That's some good points right there. Yeah, I see that. And sometimes I get a little irritated online when I'll see somebody and it's like, oh, I just got this one property. Now I got a course and I got this. And at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, good for you. I'm the one holding back, thinking that, I have limited beliefs on my own self that I shouldn't, that I can't do this yet. But, I've been in the game a long time. I got my real estate license in 2008 when the market crashed.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just interesting, but you bring up a good point there. Tell me something about a really bad scenario you've gone through on building, and then tell me something that was just like a home run. Like, I want to know something about like a big issue you've had that like felt like a major, you probably solved it, but give me something that was pretty big.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't want to sound like we don't have failures, because they're small ones that happen all the time. But
how about in the beginning?
What we've become really good at is doing due diligence to stay out of bad situations. And we pass on a lot of deals, and a lot of people pay me to look at their deals, and I kill their deals. We are really good at not getting in bad situations, period.
Okay.
What I will say is that when we do a proper due diligence and we buy property that we're going to infill, one of the biggest things that comes up that wears on me the most is the impact it has on the neighbors, and the way that people look at you and treat you when you develop your own land next to them, where they feel like there's an entitlement that you shouldn't do what you're allowed to do legally. So the states have loosened up all these regulations. Single family zoning in many states is gone. And when you buy a big piece of land where everybody has a big, huge backyard, and you build a few houses in your backyard, and all the neighbors look over the fence and, cast negativity your way, or write letters to the city council, or, attack you on social media just because your building needed infill housing, has been the hardest thing I've come up against. So we don't have these huge problems. I've never had big losses. We don't lose money. We're too niche down to really miss, I think. But the people business is what's real. So when we buy properties and we do these infill developments, and it's an upsetting thing to the neighborhood, to maybe the shared neighbors, that is the hardest part of the business. And those are the losses that I feel, because, I'm a people person, and we don't need to be people pleasers, but we want to make people happy. When we're building housing, we want tenants to be happy. We want the neighbors to be happy. We want the city to be happy. And you know what? When you're in this business and you're bold and you're making moves, like, you're not going to make everybody happy. And that was really hard. I still struggle with that. This isn't a self-limiting belief. I'm like, man, I don't like it when people don't like me building houses on my land. It hurts. It's personal to me. And I have to get past that. But that's probably the hardest part. And then that's probably the biggest loss. And then the biggest win, I would say, is we buy properties that, a lot of them are on the MLS. A lot of them are market rate or higher. We buy properties that every investor and every realtor and every homeowner walk through, and we come in and we pay more for them because we're an expert in the local planning and zoning code. And the upside is what we're going to do with the land, not how it sits. So we have these, I don't have them out. They're in my bag from traveling, but I've got a pair of goggles that I usually put on. And I say, these are my ADU goggles or my infill housing goggles. And I want everybody watching or listening to just picture my goofy mug with a big old set of like science class goggles on. And we look at properties different. And those are the biggest wins. I mean, they all feel like, they're not all home runs, but buying properties where nobody else sees value. And then we go in and we buy a house that nobody wants. We split the lot. We build 2 ADUs on the front lot. We build a new house and 2 ADUs on the back lot. So we have this house nobody wanted. We build 6 units, 5 of them brand new on 2 different tax lots, and force $500,000 of equity in less than a year. Like, that's kind of our play.
That's why you like the SB9. What's it called in Oregon? What's your version of SB9?
Well, a minor land partition is what we do. So it's fine. It's a little bit different than splitting up a lot that didn't used to meet the minimum lot requirement. So for example, what we would do is if there's a zone where the minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet, we target lots that are 10,000 square feet or larger so we can legally split them. If we're looking at California SB9 law, it would be something similar to that, but there's no more minimum lot size. So we buy a 6,000 square foot lot and we cut it into 2 3,000 footers. Here we have the Middle Housing Land Division, which is our state law version of your SB9, which basically says you don't have to meet the minimum lot size anymore. You just have to meet lot coverage ratios and setbacks, and you can split a lot if you can fit it, period.
Yeah, there's a lot of pushback. I'll take that back. There's a lot of pushback. There is definitely pushback. When AB 1033 passed, or SB9, even with agents, like local agents where I live in San Jose, which I'm in Willow Glen, and, they were freaking out, really upset. They think that everyone's going to go out and just start building. And, I don't think that's going to be the case. You might get 20% of housing stock with ADUs, but, it's something that's much needed. And, the one reason that I wanted to get into it is I've had a lot of clients in the past, back in 2010, when it was somewhat affordable to buy in Silicon Valley, where, 2 teachers could buy a house, or, a nurse. And that's just not the case anymore. Now we're building affordable housing and you got to make, 130,000 or less, which is crazy, to live in here. And they're building affordable housing, and that's freaking out the neighborhood. You want nurses, you want school teachers, you want people to live in these areas to, they have jobs, and you're worried about a brand new construction in the backyard. So I understand what you're saying about that, because the content I've put out about AB 1033, my brother used to be a general contractor. That's all he did is build ADUs. My really good friend, that's all he does. He built 60 ADUs last year. And you definitely get some flack for it. And you're just like, wait a minute, we're trying to solve this. We're trying to solve housing. The thing that most people complain about, you're trying to solve it, but I think I kind of think sometimes it's change. Humans, we don't really like change in a lot of ways. I at the end of the day,
agree.
no matter how much your intentions are good, someone can find it to be bad. That's just the reality.
Amen.
But you know what I mean? Yeah. Well, I'm really glad I found you online. You came at the perfect time. That's the weirdest thing about Instagram and social media. About a couple months ago, I started following you, and then maybe a month ago, I decided, okay, I'm flying out to Seattle in about 4 days. I'm going to start that journey of building DADUs. And, I want to take that knowledge and bring it to California and build here, so it was just cool to kind of, it's like Instagram's like listening to me, bringing me to Derek.
Yeah. It's nice when the algorithm works, huh?
Right. Good. Yeah. So, yeah. Can you give me, we can finish it here. Give me one of your biggest breakthrough moments, whatever. And it can be anything in life.
Yeah, my biggest breakthrough moment that's led to, everybody talks about mindset, and mindset is not easy to achieve. Positive mindset, abundance mindset is not easy to achieve until you have proof of concept. Everybody wants to put mindset before skill set. And I was able to break out of my shell when I knew I had a proven track record. I had a skill set that was building wealth while I was doing something that I enjoyed. And this has been in the last 5 years where I was able to take my mindset and understand through my daily meditation and my affirmations that I can do anything that I want. And it's not about me. Nobody cares about Derek. Nobody cares about really my path or my story. It's like I have a mindset as a teacher, and if I can help people, I'm going to have a gear that most other investors do not have. So I would say that the most empowering thing that's happened to me is shedding the self-limiting beliefs, trying to, as much as I can, dismantle my ego and just understand that I'm really good at what I do. Like, I don't think there's anybody better than me at what I do anywhere. And I say that like humbly. And it's only because I think I've been doing it longer and made more mistakes than anybody else. But I realized that I'm really good at that. And I realize I'm good at teaching it. And therefore, my mindset has allowed me to just come out of my shell and not worry about how I look or my crooked teeth, or people will think I'm stupid. It doesn't matter. Like, my mindset is I can't lose, and I'm just going to help as many people as I can. My goal is to influence 1 million housing units in my lifetime. And I know I've already influenced probably 10% of that in some way. And that's what drives me today. So it's mindset backed by skill set and proven track record has made me feel almost unstoppable. I really do. I feel like I can do anything that I want to do.
That was great. You know, I'm going through this episode going, I feel like he's talking to me today. I'm having this really weird moment of, like we're having a conversation, this is for the audience, but I'm hearing you say, talking about the limiting beliefs, I'm starting to mentor people, and the limiting beliefs for me is like, I'm not good enough. Who am I to teach people? And, am I a teacher? Do I know how to teach? But then I'll do things and I'll get a friend that's just like so grateful for everything I've taught them or how I switched their life. But I don't think of it that way. Like, because I'm looking at my own issues, my own limiting beliefs, and my own weird thoughts that come in my brain. So I appreciate that information you just passed. That was really good.
You're welcome, man.
Yeah.
I mean that.
Yeah, that was really awesome. Where can people find you?
That ADU
I know where to
guy.
find you.
Yeah, that
Where can
ADU
they
guy.
find you?
That ADU guy on all the spots. I'm most active on Instagram and YouTube. Again, everything that we do, we give away for free on the YouTube channel. So many people are like really interested in what we do and they want to do it too. But they don't put in the time to like go watch the free content. So that ADU guy on YouTube, that ADU guy on Instagram. If you reach out to me, you get me. I have no VAs. I have no auto chat bot getting back to you. Like, if you send me a question, I will answer it same day, like, period. That's really where my passion is helping other people for free. So that's kind of where you can find me.
I will vouch for that, because I reached out to you and you immediately responded. I was so taken back by that. I think because I've reached out, there's a lot of people I want to get on the podcast that inspire me. I see them online. I like their character. I like what they're doing. And I want to get them on the show. And, I don't hear anything, or, maybe it's an assistant. It's all these different things. And you reached right back out. I thought that said a lot. And I've had a few that, and those are the people that have done that have responded or called me. They're really great at teaching. Like, they are the ones out there teaching the most, which I find to be very interesting. So, I appreciate that.
That's awesome to hear. If some of our listeners out there, if you have a skill or you're good at something and you want to teach people, just go for it. I mean, the first podcast I was ever on was the Bigger Pockets Real Estate Podcast.
That was your first?
The first one I ever went on. It's the biggest podcast in our network. And now I've said no to 0 podcasts. I go on every show that invites me. I don't care if you have 1 follower or millions of followers. If you have something to share, again, it's not about us. It's about the people. So don't give up. Like, if you have something to share, reach out to the biggest podcasts out there and ask if you can help. When people call you, like you called me on, or you DM'd me, say yes. The best way to get reps is by saying yes. And, my path just happened to start at one of the bigger ones. But for what it's worth, just do it. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to help some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been a great episode. I really appreciate all your insights and just, thank you. I felt like you were speaking to me today. So that was, feels good. Feels good.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning into our show, where we hope you found inspiration and gained valuable insights. If you enjoyed this conversation and want to stay updated on our latest episodes, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and share it with others who might benefit from it. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more candid conversations and breakthrough moments in the future. Until next time, take care and keep exploring new ideas and strategies.